What's up everyone, and welcome back to Reload Reacts. My name is Trey, and today we're going to look through a subreddit that I am so excited to look through, r/am I the butthole. This post is by throw-ra-fhfsveyary. Am I the butthole for pretending to get fired when customers get a temper with me? I am a high schooler with a weekend job at a coffee shop. My co-workers who work weekends are James, the son's owner. He goes to my school. He's a shift manager, but it's not a real formal thing. He's a friendly guy. Danielle, a college student who sometimes works weekends too. So sometimes customers will come in and just be angry about such little stuff. Like literally blow up about nothing. I don't know if they're in a bad mood already and looking for someone to take it out on or what, but it's a lot. Like, how sad do you have to be a grown man taking your anger out on high school and college kids? So James and I were joking about having a little fun with them and hopefully getting them off our backs. So one day, I was at work and some guy was having a temper about how we don't make the coffee hot enough, which I couldn't do a thing about because I gave it to him right out of the machine. So James came in and was like, "Sir, is there a problem here?" And the guy started ranting at him too, so he was just like, "OP, this is unacceptable. You're fired." I started acting real sad, like, "No, please don't fire me. My family needs the money. I need this job, please." And he played up being a hard ass, telling me to take off my apron and leave. The angry guy started to backtrack, like, "It isn't that big of a problem. You don't need to fire her over it. I didn't mean it." And James was like, "No, we pride ourselves on the best customer service." Of course, after all that drama, I still had my job. We were just acting. We've done it a couple of times. Whenever a customer will lose their temper at Danielle or I, James will storm in and fire us. And almost every time, the person who had come in angry will apologize and say that they didn't mean it. It's kind of satisfying making people realize their actions might actually have consequences. Anyway, I was telling my friends from school about this, and a few of them thought it was a mean prank. To let someone go away thinking they'd gotten someone who desperately needs the money fired. Am I the butthole for this joke? So what do we think? Are they the butthole? This is what one of the top comments says. Not the butthole. Customers can be dicks. Usually people are pretty respectful and reasonable, even when they have a legit complaint. But every now and then, there's one guy or girl that comes in and just can't be made happy. They're the worst. I've taken the approach of killing with kindness and being sarcastically polite. "Oh, okay sir, I can microwave your coffee for you. Would you like 2 minutes or 5? It's fun, usually pisses them off more, but they can't do anything because you're not saying anything wrong. I'm curious how the customer acts when they come in the next day/following week and you're still behind the counter." The next post is by SavingsPattern3614. Am I the butthole for not taking down my video that was a gift from my best man? I have a sister that's 6 years older than me. My parents for years cancel on me last minute because of my sister. I have a basketball game. Oops, sorry sister doesn't feel like going out. I am graduating. Oops, sorry, sister had a bad day at work. They have missed both major and smaller events in my life because of her meltdowns. I met the love of my life. We decided to tie the knot. From the beginning, I told my parents how I am worried my older sister will ruin another special moment in my life. My mum told me over and over again it would not happen. The day of my wedding, I received a voicemail from my mum saying they couldn't come because my sister's dog was sick and she was upset. I was hurt. My best man, however, is a jokester. He took my phone, then went to my fiancée and asked if he could post a video of our wedding as a gift on social media. She loved his idea. I had no idea about it until I came home. Our honeymoon was at a lakeside cabin, no cell service. The post caption was, "My best friend. He is an amazing person, even if his parents never showed up for him." The video was still pictures of us next to her parents, me on the dance floor cutting the cake, where you would normally see both parents in wedding pictures. The sound behind the video was my mum's voice call explaining how they couldn't come because my sister's dog was sick. I came home a week later to hundreds of messages, family members from both sides insisting I take it down. I was told my sister hadn't stopped crying. Mum is refusing to leave the house. Maybe I am the butthole here. I didn't take it down when I got my messages. I didn't call my family back right away. I waited until my vacation time was over at work and enjoyed my time with my wife in our new home before I contacted anyone. My dad told me to take down the video. It was just a bad night for them, to quote, that they will make it up to me and my wife for not coming. My reply was exactly, how do you plan to make up for my wedding? It's a once in a lifetime thing. You choose to ignore my feeling on the whole matter. Then he just repeated he will make it up to me. I told him I would take down the video only when he made up missing my wedding. Flustered, we both hung up the phone before we both said things we shouldn't have. Am I the butthole here? I could have just taken down the video. One of the top comment reads, not the butthole. They were finally called out on their blatant favoritism and they obviously didn't take it well. I'd hold off inviting them anywhere or to anything. OP, at least for a while, don't make them your first priority when you clearly aren't theirs. Focus on your new wife and your absolutely awesome best friend. They both sound like keepers. This third post is by Yeah So That. Am I the butthole for quote-unquote announcing that my dad's not paying my college tuition? My aunt and uncle are paying for my cousin's college. My dad has a college fund for me, but he had stipulations like he wanted nothing below a B for grades and to pre-approve any classes I take, weekly meetings to discuss grades and a bunch of other stuff, which would be fine if you have a normal dad. Mine isn't. My dad has a temper and I spent 6th to 12th grade stressed out about grades and being screamed at or grounded over things that sometimes weren't even my fault, like a teacher not updating online grading and an assignment being marked missing because of it, and getting my backpack and locker randomly searched by him for no reason besides to make sure I'm not hiding anything. I decided to pay for school myself because of 1, not being stressed over being screamed at, and 2, I didn't feel like constantly worrying that he'd disapprove of a class or a grade and decide to not pay, which I could totally see him doing. I'd rather be in debt than controlled for 4 more years. I just finished my first year. Well, my family got together on the 4th and, well, sometimes they're nosy. They were talking about my cousin's school and my uncle looked at my dad and said, well, how much is OP's school costing you? I said, what are you asking him for? I'm the one paying for it. Later on, my dad was annoyed and said that it was out of line to say and that I embarrassed him. I didn't do it to embarrass him, I was just being honest. He doesn't even know how much tuition is, so he was the wrong person to ask. Am I the butthole? The top comment reads, not the butthole. So what if he was embarrassed? His emotions are not yours to manage. You told the truth. Expand on it. Yeah, there were too many micromanaging strings attached to accepting money that I didn't want to relive my anxiety-ridden high school years. Also, your dad sounds ridiculous and kinda scary. Maybe low contact is the way to go. This post is by Frustrating Baconate. Would I be the butthole for refusing to stop cooking bacon in my kitchen due to my teenage daughter's vegan lifestyle? Dad here, old fart, loves his daughter to pieces, but I'm struggling to see eye to eye with my teenager and wife on this one. We've always been a meat-eating family. We live in the rural Midwest, and bacon for breakfast is pretty much a given. This year, my 14-year-old daughter decided to go vegan, and I jumped onto her support team with enthusiasm. We learned how to substitute ingredients, cook new things, try new things. I adjusted our budget to include more expensive vegan substitutes for her, etc. None of this has been a problem for me until recently. She saw me cook bacon in a pan, and then I rinsed it out to load in the dishwasher. She exploded in anger. Teen years, I'm not too fussed about the anger explosion, I know she doesn't mean it. And said that was her pan for vegan food. I was completely floored and said, "Kiddo, this here is a family pan, older than you. It's not your pan." She asked me to purchase her a new pan that she can solely use for vegan food. I didn't want her to feel weird about food, so I said sure, and ordered her a few coloured ones that are only for her. The reason they're coloured is so it helps me remember that I'm not to touch them unless I'm cooking vegan. That wasn't good enough. Now apparently the dishwasher is contaminated with animal product and the fridge has bacon grease fingers on it because I eat bacon and then touch the fridge. And she's asked me and her mum to completely stop eating meat at home. I don't mean I literally touch the fridge with greasy bacon hands because I wash my hands, but it's clearly enough that it upsets my daughter. Frankly, I'm on team hell no. Her mum is much more amenable and strongly wants me to consider taking our daughter up on the request. My wife's reasoning is that both our parents live close, so we can eat meat products there, and that she doesn't want our daughter to feel uncomfortable in the kitchen. My daughter says she is fine with cheese and butter in the fridge, but it's specifically meat products that make her feel sick. Now I'm sorry for her, but I feel like she just needs to adapt and live side by side, because I'm not going to stop eating bacon in my own house. This is what Doffy Trash has to say. Not the butthole. Get her a special sponge she can use to wash her own dishes so she didn't have to use the quote-unquote tainted dishwasher. This fifth post here reads, "Would I be the butthole for planting prickly bushes in my front yard to keep the neighbor's kids from my property? Throwaway for obvious reasons. I moved into a detached townhouse a few months ago. It's a rental. I'm leasing it out for a year with the option to extend that with a second year or possibly buy the house. My driveway is right next to the neighbor's. It's big enough to fit 2 regular-sized cars, and halfway down my driveway there's a path leading around my house. On one side of the path is my house, and on the other side is about 3 meters of yard. That's also mine. Ever since I moved in, I've been having issues with the neighbors using my driveway for parking, turning their cars, storing their other stuff, playing, etc. Asking them to stop using it and keep their items on their own property has not worked, so I placed a few large plants, installed a camera, and a no trespassing sign, and that helped a bit. At least the cars are gone. The last few weeks with the stay home advice, I've been working from home, but the neighbors' kids are making that really hard. They're about 5 and 7, boys, and they keep ringing my doorbell multiple times a day to ask if they can play with my dog, if I want to play with them, or anything else they can think of. I asked them to stop so I can work, which of course didn't work, so I asked their parents, and was told boys will be boys, and they weren't going to do anything about it, frowny face. To keep my sanity intact, I removed the battery from my doorbell, but now they keep running around in my front yard on the path around my house, banging on my windows, banging on my doors, and actually tried to open the gate to my backyard this morning as they heard me in there. I once again asked them to stop, told them I will not be allowing them to play with the dog anymore at all if they keep this up, and they left. Sending over their dad, I told him to keep the boys away from my property and door. If not, I'll be placing some prickly bushes to teach them to stay away from other people's property and shut the door in his face. Would I be the butthole if I actually did that? I'd love to place a fence or something, but as it may be a short-term rental, I have to be able to return everything in its original state for now. Now, before we read a comment, we have an update here. I was asked for an update on the previous post. About a week after my post, I planted a wall of blackberries and raspberries at the 2 sides of my garden facing the driveway. Yum. About 30 centimeters from the edge, so no overhanging branches. On the other side of the berry wall, I planted lots of stuff like strawberries and tomatoes. To reach the tomatoes and strawberries from the driveway, you have to either go through the fruit bushes or walk up to my house, walk about 2 meters along the side of my house and my windows, and then walk into my actual garden. Not something you do by mistake. For about 2 weeks, it was somewhat quiet, but I still found the kids in my driveway every single day. As far as I know, they did not enter the garden, and I hadn't noticed them walking around my house anymore, so I figured the bushes were working. About 1 week ago, Berry season started, and now my bushes are full of raspberries and there's lots of strawberries as well. The neighbors noticed. First, I caught the boys picking and eating raspberries, so I told them off and dropped them off at home. Told their mum I caught them stealing. That's how I see it, even though it's fruit. That's correct. And that I'd call the cops next time. She huffed and told me to grow up, but I took the boys inside anyway. After that, it was quiet up until yesterday afternoon, when I went out for a while and found the dad and his two sons right in the middle of my garden when I returned, clearing my bushes and plants. I didn't even confront them, just called the cops from a distance as they hadn't noticed me yet and started filming them after making the call. Luckily, 2 cops showed up after 10 minutes or so, and they confronted the neighbor as they were still picking berries. They told them they were trespassing, and that the berry picking was in fact considered stealing and that I could press charges. For the first time, I noticed a bit of fear in my neighbor, as he was having trouble finding his words and kept looking back at his house, I guess hoping his wife would show to yell at the cops. They all went inside with the cops, so I just went home as well. After a while, the cops came by and asked me if I wanted to press charges. I asked them if they felt like they scared the neighbor enough to stay away. I got a little smile and yes about him, but the wife had just kept shouting at them and her husband about the little bitch living next door. I told them no for now, asked them if I'd be allowed to get an extra camera set up on the wall between my garden and the road to cover the entire front garden plus driveway. They said that's allowed as long as it's on my side of the wall. So now I'm getting an extra camera installed. One neighbor knows I'm done messing around, but his wife isn't there yet, and if I ever catch any of them again, the cops will be called and possible charges will follow. Do we think they're the butthole guys? Write your thoughts in the comments below. And that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the story with Am I the Butthole? My name is Trey, this was Reload Reacts, and I will see you in the next video.